Hey everyone, welcome to the Palikari Business Podcast. My name is Abby.
And I'm Nick.
And we're the founders of Odyssey Productions Co., a video production company located in the Central Valley of California.
Yeah, the word Palikari is a Greek word that means a young person who's achieved great things beyond their years.
So in each episode of this podcast, we will be interviewing successful business owners, influencers, and entrepreneurs to learn from their wisdom, experiences, and even their mistakes in hopes of helping you achieve great things beyond your years.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the episode.
Hailey Hall is the owner and operator of Soaps by Hailey. We had the pleasure of going to school with Hailey, and I've known her for years. And actually, we got to see her start her business at the age of 13. Over the years, her business has grown to be very successful, and she has not only created a profitable business selling personal care products, but she now creates products for other large businesses in the area, as well as offering mentoring services, workshops, and more. So we feel so privileged to have you on the podcast today, Hailey. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, Nick and Abby.
Yes, of course.
Beautiful newlyweds.
Yes.
Thank you.
Awesome to hear from you and how
Yeah,
you
we're
started
excited that
so
you're here.
early. So
Yeah.
I know, because you guys have seen me for so long. You
Yeah.
guys have known me for the longest, probably out of all the people you've interviewed so far.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Awesome. So just to get started, can you share a little bit about your background, how you got started with soap making and everything?
Yes. Okay. So basically, I kind of was always like a little businesswoman. I used to like have lemonade stands like typical people. And then you're at like a yard sale and you'll have a little lemonade stand to make a few quarters. But basically, like I kind of always have like wanted to sell things and have always been crafty. I actually used to paint and stuff too. So I would have like a big like craft box all the time. And I decided that I wanted to make something that people could use and that was like useful to people in general and wouldn't sit on a shelf. But I also didn't really know at the time that it would be like soap and have like the specific mission that it's matured to be of like providing a more special experience and everything. But I've always like just been entrepreneurial, I guess. And so I decided to start making soap, and it was actually New Year's Eve of 2013. And I told my parents like, hey, I made this. It's like cucumber melon, and it sucked. It was awful. And like I even had plastic molds and everything, and it was just like horrible to get the soaps out of that mold. But people would use the soap and it would be like, oh, it's okay, you know. But I told my parents, I said, hey, like I made this and I'm going to sell it. And they're like, okay, like, sure, that's fine. Go for it, I guess. Like, that's cute, Hailey. And, you know, so it kind of started that way. And then it blossomed into something much bigger because, like, you, Abby, like, you saw me selling products at school like for Mother's Day, and I would sell like these cute little soaps in jars, like, and put like a cute ribbon around it.
That was every year. That was my Mother's Day gift from my mom.
Yeah, it was so adorable. It was so adorable. I apologize for that because the soap was not super good.
She loved it. I don't know.
Yeah, the soap, it was really pretty though, and they're just appealing, and so that's kind of how I started, is like selling at school. And then I also actually would sell to like these girls at the salon that my grandma went to. She would like take product and stuff like that, and like there's a bunch of different colors and they're so pretty. But I don't know, it kind of really started small, and the thing that really like continued to help me is whenever I started doing farmers market, and that's why farmers market is so near and dear to my heart, is because it really helped me like get my start.
Yeah. So how do you come up with you have so many creative ideas for your business, because you have, first of all, you have all the different soap scents or flavors. I don't know
Thank
what
you.
would
Yeah.
call them.
Oh, don't call them flavors. Are you going to eat the soap? That's why I always have to ask people.
Yes. It looks so good.
Yeah. Some people say like it's so like deceiving because it looks like you could just take a bite of it. But they're scents. Yeah. Yes. So I have a lot of scents. Yeah. Continue.
No worries. So you come up with different scents. You also have like different ways you sell your products. You have the soap end boxes, subscription boxes. You just started doing candles and everything, right?
Yes. Oh, I love candles.
How do you come up with all these ideas and keep that kind of creative juices flowing for your products?
So, this is so hard. So with the candles, I just started making those because I like candles so much and I was tired of spending so much money on them. I just wanted to make them for myself, and then I was like, oh my gosh, wait, I'll just sell these too. So usually like I'll make something because I'm interested in it at first. And usually like I'm a pretty big consumer of beauty products. I've always been, but not like crazy, like not like makeup or anything, but personal care products. I definitely have always consumed them a lot. So I feel like I have a good like touch on what's hot in the market right now. So a lot of the times I also have some suppliers that provide different like fragrance trend reports, and I'll kind of combine all of those and decide on what I'm going to make.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times I'll be like, you know, I really envision this for summer. I'm just going to go ahead and make it, which isn't always how people do business. A lot of people do like research. They do like countless hours of research. And it was only until like this past year that I actually started doing research on my business and what I was going to produce. So usually I would actually just make what I wanted, which is hilarious because like usually that is not what business owners do, but it worked for me for a really long time. And when I started getting more serious about my business and I wasn't in high school and I was actually able to figure out how much money I was making, I was able to like kind of actually be a little more serious, like this is going to be the line, this is going to be for fall, this is going to be for Christmas, we're going to do this, it's going to match with this in a box or something for gifts. But basically, like all my creative ideas just kind of come from my brain. I mean, that's not a super helpful tip, but if people are ever needing creative ideas, I usually recommend like looking at different things that are happening like in nature or what's happening in the market in general, and see what's on the shelves and see why that's appealing to people. And a lot of it is like labeling and marketing right now anyway.
Yeah. That's cool.
So your creative ideas kind of come from the things you're interested or curious about. That's kind of where it comes from. Like, I wonder if this would smell good, and then you just make it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's kind of usually how it's been done. And I'm always like really visual about textures and colors. So I like to use a lot of specific colors. Like I do have a lot of pinks because I do like pink a lot, but I try to use a lot of like visually appealing colors. I know a lot of trending colors right now are like the muted dark brown or like light brown and stuff like that. And that's just something that I wasn't ever interested in. And so I have a really like bubbly, charismatic personality. So I guess I kind of created my brand to match that, like with the products. Not cheesy, but like a tasteful, like bubbly, you're going to enjoy this experience.
Something bright.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I get out of that is that you have an idea, you should go for it.
Just try it.
Absolutely, yeah. I definitely encourage people that if they do have an idea, like always try it first and see how it works out, and like you can always tweak it later, especially because like we are so young. Some people even start out like at like 40. Like my mom had me when she was 36 and she went back to school with her master's. Like it's never too late to do what you think is your dream or what you envision for your life. At the end of the day, like you also don't have to go to school for anything. You could just go for it. And if it doesn't work, you still have time to like start over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's really good. So another question, you started your business from scratch. So like you didn't have, you didn't inherit your bit, nothing like that.
No investors,
So what were some of the difficult parts of starting your business, and how did you overcome those?
So I started my business with, I think, about like $600. It's hard to remember because I was only 13, so like I wasn't paying a ton of attention to the numbers of everything. I just knew like I was probably making money on something. So my mom, she actually bought a lot of things in the beginning because she was so excited. She's like, oh, we should make this. And it was like a thing we could do together, but I would still make everything. But as far as like going out and selling stuff, she was like buying displays or things like that for me, or like I think she bought my first tent, but really it wasn't more than like $600. And I think I used a lot of my little savings and stuff because I had been saving since like second grade, but it's not like I knew I was ever going to be saving for like a business, so I never set aside money for that. It was honestly like people looked at it as like a hobby, and I guess from the outside it did look like a hobby, but I instantly knew like when I started doing it, like I wanted a business. I don't know why. I think for some people it's like inherent, but other people it's not, and they decide to do that later. But I will say one thing with this before I go back to talking about the finances. Something that I've learned that's really important is like a lot of people do want to be an entrepreneur. It's a really popular word right now, and it's a really popular like thing to be your own boss, especially after COVID. But a lot of those people don't realize that they have to choose something that they love when they first start. They like a lot of people want a quick buck, or they want to like start quick, but like I've been building this business since I was 13, and I'm just starting to really, really, really mature the business, and it's evolved so much over the years, but I didn't know I was making money until like 2017, and that was 4 years after I started my business. So that was senior year of high school, when I was like leaving during lunch or something and being like, I'm gonna go make soap, and working on a website that I had no idea how to build, you know. And so basically, like, I didn't have investors, I didn't have anything like that. I guess my mom bought a few things, but really I always just took the money out and put it back in the business. I've never paid myself until 2017, and the first thing that I paid myself, I think, was like $1,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. It's very different compared to what you hear a lot about, like startups and like investing in startups these days. But I was never that way. I was always like small business, and I really never wanted to pay myself, which is ironic because it's a business.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that you like being at that age too was a huge help for you being able to start something like that. Because obviously, if you moved out and you're trying to start something like that and not making enough to pay the bills, it's like a lot harder. So
Yeah, absolutely. Like whenever I do move, I luckily am so grateful to still work out of my mom's house. I have a spare bedroom dedicated to it, but it's overflowing into the whole house. And I can't believe I produce like 10,000 soaps a year out of that room.
Yeah.
And it is so small, but I was able to build up with shelves and stuff. So it's working, but until I move, it is like, I won't be moving into a different space. So whenever I do move, it's definitely going to be a huge shift from what I've known for my business for all these years. But luckily, I was able to have that time and opportunity to mature in a space that was my own for so long that it was like, whenever I do move out, it won't be that difficult, really.
Yeah. So you were talking about how you, until 2017, you were investing everything back into the business. And like you said, like a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs, but they don't realize the amount of work that goes into it, the amount that you actually have to put into it. And that was one of the things we learned when we started. Somebody who was mentoring us was like, you need to invest at least 30% of what you earn back into the business for at least the first like 3 years.
And save some for taxes.
Exactly.
That's something that I still have a hard time remembering.
Yeah. A tough one.
Especially I pay quarterly taxes now too. So I have to remember to pay them every quarter, else I'm in big trouble. Because I pay sales tax.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense.
Which you guys don't have to.
Right.
No.
Yeah. It's just at the
it's a
end of the year.
service. So
Yeah. It's different with a product-based business.
Yeah, it's very different.
So actually on that, can you share some of the mistakes that you've made in business, if you're comfortable, and how you learned from them?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so there's a few big ones. So obviously you guys have known me for a long time, and you know that I'm very hard on myself, and I'm a perfectionist and things like that. So I oftentimes, like, even when I would develop a product, I would be like, in the first like test, I would be like, okay, this is it. And I would like go and sell it right away. And a lot of the times, like, that's not something you should do. You should test out your product beforehand, but I would be like, all right, I'm making this. I'm not going to spend money on trying to test it out, which is so like crazy that I'm even like invoicing people for an R&D budget now, and they're paying me to test whatever they want me to make. So that's a really cool thing, like to look back on that and see, sorry, I keep hitting the microphone, and see kind of like how that has worked out. But I would say that was one mistake, is like starting out and not really having a plan as for what I was going to make and how I was going to scale up. Like, that's not necessarily a mistake, but more of a regret, I suppose. But one really, really, really big mistake that I had about 2 years ago when I started doing private label is I made these soaps for a company that's local, and they ordered, it was my biggest order, and it was about 1,200 bars of soap.
Wow.
And I had to make it in 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
And I had just been visiting my boyfriend, who's now my husband, and so I had to come straight back from like North Carolina, do this, and make everything. And keep in mind, they also had to do a Gmp inspection for my facility because they are such a large company that they had to make sure that my company was up to code because that's their standard. And so being in my house, I was so dead tired. I came home from like North Carolina. I was up all night, like making my soap room look pretty and stuff, and everything had to be labeled a certain way. Things have to be very clean, like no pet hair, no anything. No dust, nothing like that. And things have to be off the floor. Like, it's very serious. So I have another inspection coming up this October. So I'm already like starting to think about it. Rather than trying to do it overnight like I did the first time. So I will say, like, the first mistake is biting off more than you can chew. So with this, I actually hired 2 helpers, and they worked for me for 2 weeks. And I made all of these soaps. And a lot of the soaps that I delivered, I actually made them so quickly, and they were half and half bars. So they didn't completely like fuse together. If you're familiar with the soap process, you'll kind of know what I'm talking about. But basically, the bars broke apart. And I was like mortified. Like I had delivered 1,200 soaps to these people, and it was like hundreds of bars were broken, and the colors weren't right on some of them, or like some of them had different bottoms than the others, and basically they weren't uniform, and there was a few that like had pet hair on the bottom of them, and I was just freaking out because I like handled each one myself and did quality control, but now we have a different quality control process in place, thankfully. But I will say, like, biting off more than you can chew was my first mistake. That was a big one. But other than that, like, I don't know. I don't think I have any other huge mistakes. Yeah.
So how have you kind of balanced that now? Do you kind of schedule things out differently? Like, how do you take care of that?
Yeah. So typically, actually, with that, like, it really forced me to be in a huge scale up position. But with that, like, I kind of learned that I do need to space out more time. Now I have like a 6-week turnaround time because soaps take 4 weeks to cure before you can even give them to be used. So I have like a 6-week turnaround time, which helps. And I also have contracts in place as well, so that if goods are delivered within 5 days, they have to tell me, and then we can solve the problem from there. Either I refund them or we figure out some other deal, you know? But basically, like, I got a lot faster at making soap. So typically in one day, the most soap I've made probably is like 400 bars. Wow. So now that I'm able to make that much in one day by myself, like, I just got a really good system down. And that kind of helped, I guess, like, just putting more things in place. More
of the fundamental, like, this
things that aren't always fun for people.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't just
the
make
business stuff.
Yeah, the admin, all of that. Like, quality control is a huge thing that, like, I never used to do that much, and I just was like, oh, it's great. You know, I just made it. It looks great. Put a label on it, and, like, thanks for your money. But when it's another company that's selling the soap under their label and I made it, it's on them when they get a customer complaint if the color's wrong or something like that. And so it's a really serious job to do private label, but it's also so rewarding, and that's why I started doing it a lot more.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
That's cool.
Really good. Yeah.
So that's another question I have for you that I've noticed, at least. You have a really loyal customer base, and, like, you have people that love to see you at the farmer's market. They order from you all the time.
Yeah.
How do you manage to, like, build those relationships with your customers and keep them coming back?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I love this question. So basically, like, what would happen is I would be 13, losing money, right? Like, I would give people change back, and it would be like they got, like, I would give them like $1 extra back or something. Like, I was horrible at math, and I hated math. And my mom had to teach me how to count back change. Like, isn't that hilarious that, like, in school, I feel like we weren't taught, like, how to count back change or something, or, like, how to really do your taxes, things like that, where it's like the business side of things where I really had to learn on my own and taught myself. But basically, like, with the customer base, people used to see me at farmer's market, and they'd be like, oh, this is a cute little girl. And I already have a pretty, like, young face, and my voice is pretty high pitched and stuff. So people would be like, oh, like, we'll buy some soap from her. Like, she's adorable. And it honestly kind of sucked at first, but after a while, they would continue coming back because they wanted to support me. And they'd be like, hi, Hailey. Especially, it helps that my name was Soaps by Hailey for the business side. And it still is Soaps by Hailey, which eventually, like, hoping to change that maybe. But because I was so young, it was easy to identify, like, that's Hailey. Like, let's go chat with Hailey. Like, she's so cute. She's this adorable little girl. And people didn't take me too seriously. They just bought stuff because I was nice, and I was, like, dreaming of things to be big, you know, so they really wanted to support my goal and my dream. And I would, like, make like $50 at a farmer's market. And now, like, the biggest sale I probably had at a market in general was almost $1,000 one time. And that's, like, in the same amount of time, like 5 hours. And so it's just crazy to look back at that and be like, holy crap. And so I, like, 100% give that to my customer base because, like, they continuously came back to me over and over and over again. And then they realized that my product was actually good. Like once I started getting better at making everything, they were like, oh, Hailey's so cute. Let's keep shopping with her. Let's keep supporting her. Oh my gosh, she added these new products. Let's try them out. And then they realized that they actually really enjoyed my products. And so they kept coming back. And I've always been a really personable person, which you guys probably know from school. I have a really like charismatic personality, I guess. So they just like enjoyed talking to me and enjoyed supporting me because it was something that was kind of unusual for the area at the time. Now there are a lot of like little entrepreneurs out here, but at the time it was kind of like, oh, like she's kind of doing something that's a little different. And so people just supported me, and I've always had a relationship with a lot of customers, especially like if I give discounts, if they come to me a lot, or if they place a bulk order. I'm also very like accommodating when it comes to if you want something customized or if you want me specifically to put together a gift box or whatever. I guess I've just grown my customer base through that, is just really like knowing the customer and having a real relationship with them.
Yeah.
Which is something that a lot of like, obviously like Walmart can't do that.
Yeah. For sure. So it's just being very relational. You pay attention to what each person, you probably remember their names too a lot of times.
Oh yeah, I have customers that will still text me and I don't have their number saved, and they'll be like, hey Hailey, like I wanted to get this time, and I'll be like, oh, who is this? And it'll be like, oh, it's so-and-so, and I've purchased from you for like years and years, and then I'll remember who they are. But I have customers that like bring me birthday cards every year and like bring me birthday presents and stuff. I have customers that gave me graduation cards and gave me like wedding gifts and stuff. And people, like a lot of my customers, because I eloped, a lot of them were actually mad that they didn't know I got married. And they were like, oh my gosh, Hailey, like you're married? Why didn't you tell me, you know? And it's so cute. Like it's just a relationship with them. I love that. And that's why I love my community here so much.
Hey guys, if you found this podcast to be helpful to you, we would love to invite you to join our community Discord server. In the server, you'll be able to discuss the things you've been learning with other entrepreneurs, ask questions, build connections with like-minded people, and you'll have direct access to Nick and I.
Yeah, and the best part is it's totally free. We would love to connect with you. So if you're interested in joining our awesome community, head over to our Instagram page at Odyssey Productions Co. and click that link in our bio.
We can't wait to talk with you.
So you've recently started mentoring people. What is what made you want to start doing that?
Okay, so I have loved this. I love mentoring so much. I'm so happy that I started doing it this year. It was actually my life coach that suggested that I do it because I am creating an online course about how to turn your like craft into a profitable business, which is hopefully coming out by fall. We shall see. I'm working really hard on it, but obviously I have a lot going on, so it's hard to get it done. But basically, I started working on that course, and I needed content for it. So my life coach was like, why don't you just start mentoring people and see what they ask you about? And I was like, oh my gosh, duh, like I'll do that. So I got a few mentorship clients. Like I have one in Hawaii, I have one that's in Turlock, and the one in Turlock, she is a nutritionist, and so she's not even in the soap space or anything, and she's already like doing an incredible job with her action plan, and it's so fun to see people flourish with things that took me years to learn. Like I was able to give her a resource about like even just something as simple about where to get your business license. People don't really realize like how to do that stuff necessarily, or where to look for different resources like that. And so I was just kind of like wanting to do it at first to build content for my course, but I realized that it really fuels my soul. And like I really want to help people that are actually like doing something that they love. I really want to help people thrive doing that because I hated having like a 9-to-5 job. I only had it for like, I only had one other boss, and I really just was like, this is not for me. I hated it, and if there's other people that feel that way, like having a 9-to-5 job is totally fine, and I commend people that can do that. But for my, like, I kind of have a rebel soul, I guess, and so I really just I didn't want to be told what to do. I just wanted to work on whatever I want to work on that day, and it's worked really well for me. Some people don't have that ability, but basically, like, I just want to help people that are trying to accomplish different dreams that they have, that have, like, a good mission. And I saved a lot of time whenever I did get like a life coach or something, like about really how I wanted to level up in this world. But I don't know, I kind of started mentorship for that reason, and it turned into wanting to help people save like wasting time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another thing we kind of talked about when we had coffee was there's a lot of business owners who kind of keep all their information close to their chest. They don't want to share. They're very, they're kind of, I think it's out of a fear of competition or something.
Yeah.
But then you're holding workshops, literally teaching people how to make soap, and you're doing mentorships. So why do you think it's important to be generous with that information?
You know, something that I learned, like, whenever I graduated high school, and especially when I got married, is it's really, really important because, like, I'm pretty religious, and I'm a huge believer that whatever you give to the Lord will give back to you. And whether you believe in, like, the universe or something like that, it's really important, like, whatever you believe in, I really think that you can manifest the shit out of things. Like, if you want something, you can absolutely get it. But at the same time, you can't do that just because you want money and you come from a greedy place. Or, like, my life coach would say, like, if you do something coming from a place of scarcity, it's not going to come to you. Like, Jesus or the universe, whatever you believe in, it will reward you whenever you give back to the community or give back to people or, like, treat people with kindness in general. And I feel like that's why my business has done so well, is because I usually am very, generous with different things. Or people say, like, Hailey, your prices are so low, you need to raise your prices. And I go, no, like, I really want to be affordable for you guys, because it's really important for me that you guys keep coming back and enjoy my products, and different things like that. Eventually, I did raise my prices because the product became so good, and I'm really proud of that. But at the same time, like, I do workshops and things like that because it's something enjoyable for the community. And actually, with the workshops, they don't even make the soap that I make. So they make melt and pour soap, so they don't use any hazardous lye or anything like I do. So they are learning how to make soap, but they're not learning how to make it completely from scratch. Because it would take hours and hours, and it's a huge liability. But still, they're learning how to make lip balm or body scrubs or face masks. But the beauty of that is, like, there's so many different ways to make these things that the way that I make it isn't the way that they're being taught. But it's still a great way, So I usually kind of, like, do a variety of things. So people can technically go out and take what I make whenever I show them at a workshop. But a lot of people don't end up, like, going and attending for that reason. Usually it's more like a paint and sip type situation. They're doing it for fun. And people have enjoyed them so much. But with mentorships, same thing, is, like, I just want to help people. Like, I think that the world is a really hateful place, unfortunately, a lot of the time. And I ran into a lot of soap makers that kept, like, things really close to their chest. And when I was, like, first starting, and I'm like, why are people so secretive about this? Like, we're all doing the same thing. And at the end of the day, like, what good is it to be rude to another entrepreneur, like, when they're trying to do something just as similar as you, like, with the same mission of following their dreams and wanting to provide a better experience for this world? If they're doing it, like, scamming people, sure, like, I won't really be super nice to them. But at the same time, it's like, life is so short. Why would you not want to help your neighbor?
Yeah.
It's
really good.
So, yeah.
And I feel like, too, like, I don't know, I usually see in my industry, filmmaking, other filmmakers are, like, they're my partners. They don't have to be enemies, if they need help with something, I'll help them. And then if I need help with something, they're there to help me too. So it's just better to build that community than to.
And I'm actually going to a life retreat coming up soon, that they are both, like, really high-level photographers in the industry that you guys are in, and they also do video and stuff like that. And they're throwing a life retreat, and they just did a photo retreat for all of these photographers. So they're also in the same boat of wanting to help people. Sure, people have to pay them for it because they have really, like, high level of knowledge that other people don't have. But at the same time, it's like, at the end of the day, you're teaching people another skill, and you're not saying, oh, I'm going to, like, monopolize this market. Because there's no reason to. Like, there's plenty of business to go around, especially in the United States. So there's no reason to be, I don't know, greedy.
Secret. People have this scarcity mindset, like, there's not enough business for everyone, so I have to, get all the business for myself. But that's not how it is.
Exactly.
It's not how it is.
Yeah.
For sure. Cool. So another question then. You have a lot of really great content on social media, and we talked a little bit about that. How much time you
I'm
spend.
glad you guys think so, because you guys are, like, the experts on filming things. I just do stuff with my iPhone.
Well, your videos always look good. Your pictures are very pretty. So you do a really good job with that, but you're also very consistent with it.
I try.
So I wanted to ask, can you give any tips on how you, like, create consistent quality content and come up with your ideas?
So this is also a really great question because I actually worked for a small business that was a social media business, and it basically like burnt me out on social media. I was creating probably like 80 posts a month for small businesses in Turlock to help promote them, and I was just so tired. Like, can you imagine creating all that content with a caption and doing the graphic and then scheduling it to post, and like if information's wrong, for example, when COVID started, like there were all these events and it was on us to make sure that we were updating people constantly on what was happening, and it was just exhausting. And so I got really burnt out on social media, and I had a really cynical like mindset about it, I would say, for a while, because I was just so tired and I had no fresh ideas. And then after I quit that job, I was like liberated. It felt incredible to be able to like actually just post stuff that I thought was beautiful and that I really wanted to showcase to people, because other people thought it was really cool to see like soap process and stuff. And there weren't a lot of like soap making videos at the time when I first started social media for Soaps by Hailey. Like I've had, I think, that Instagram since 2015.
Oh, wow, okay.
So, but I really didn't start focusing on it until my senior year of high school. And even those photos, like you look back at them and they were awful. They're all taken with my iPhone, and they're like heavily edited and like so saturated, which is how a lot of old Instagram photos work anyway. But after like I quit that one job, I was able to have a fresh perspective about like how I really wanted to curate my business and curate content, because I know that like I would get constant comments saying like, this is beautiful, I love like these colors, I love this texture. So I kind of would go off of what people would comment and see like what was most interesting or visually appealing to people. And then video wasn't super popular around then either. And I was like, why would I post a 1-minute video? So like I would do a few like cutting soap, but it really wasn't as big as like TikTok kind of made it. Which like we're 2 years into that, so it's super saturated right now, but it's working great for people, and TikTok trends end up on Reels on Instagram anyway. So it like really works in our favor because there's so many different free platforms. And like I follow Gary Vee a lot, and something that he constantly makes a point about is like our ancestors didn't have a freaking phone to like post for free. And like if you wanted to do a flyer or something back in the day, it would cost like thousands of dollars to send a saturated flyer to like 80,000 people in Turlock. You know, it was like so expensive, and we have this free tool, so it's like take advantage of it, you know? And so that's why I really am consistent on social media, because I try to curate as much as possible so that it's not only visually appealing, but it also showcases what I do, and that hopefully I'm trying to start like creating more content that actually gives people tips and stuff like that they could take away, and it's not just showcasing what I make. But they're also like so visually appealing that it's really fun. And I really like, I don't know if you noticed on Instagram, I have like my grid is like a soap and then a video, a soap and a video. So I tried to make it visually appealing, like uniform. But that's actually not as like popular now. It's starting to not be as popular to have like a curated, beautiful feed. And so I've been posting a lot more like reels and things like that are letting people a little more into who I am as a maker, because I was afraid for a while, because I was so young. I was like, I don't know if like I'm doing this right or something. So it kind of took a while for me to feel comfortable like posting less curated content, I guess.
Yeah, people love personal content and anything that tells stories.
Yeah, I plan on recording a few things today if I get time, especially with how much audio there is out there now. It's so much fun. Yeah.
Cool. So for anyone who's, because you started out young with your business, you've grown 9 years. For anyone who's starting out, what tips would you give them if they're starting their business?
The biggest tip that I give people who are just starting out is to decide like if they actually love what they do. If you don't love what you do, then don't do it. You're going to be miserable. And especially because I make everything myself, like I love, like I light up when I talk about soaps. I talk about them like they're like my little children, you know. I'm like, he did good today, like he performed well, like this soap behaved when I was making it, you know. Like I'm so in tune with my craft that I'm such a nerd about it. Like I have it tattooed on my arm, for goodness sake. So it's just kind of like you you really need to love what you do. If you don't, then there's no reason of spending like time and wasting it on that when you could be doing something else that you'll probably love and that will probably make you money. And the hardest part for an entrepreneur is because we have so many ideas, it's really hard to harness which one we really want to go for, because usually entrepreneurs, we want to go like all in.
Yeah.
And like the biggest piece of advice I would say is make sure your branding's good when you first start, because I didn't start having branding until probably like 2018. I have had like 3 or 4 different logos probably. A few of them were just like off the cuff, made it on like Avery labels or something. And then one of them, like Morgan Andre, our art teacher, she made one for me for free, as I needed it when I sponsored a run or something. So it was like, oh, I didn't know how to do the admin stuff, I guess. So the biggest thing I would say is like do something that you love and then figure out how to make money from it. And if you don't know how to make money from it, then come talk to me and I'll help you find a way. And then the second is to like harness your branding, because branding is so important. It's your identity. It's like connected to you as a personal brand, and then it's your business brand. Those are interconnected because you are the business. I am constantly the business. When I go out to like a bar, I'm still the business. I run into customers and they'll say, oh my gosh, it's the soap girl. And they still love me and they don't judge me for having a drink in my hand, right? Because I'm always presentable when I have my business, because I'm constantly displaying myself, because it's Soaps by Hailey. It's not just Soaps by Hailey separate from Hailey Hall. So that's another thing too, is do what you love, because it's going to be fused together.
So branding is kind of a hot topic word too, now that you bring it up. I feel like everybody's kind of focusing on branding, but I think everybody kind of thinks it's something different. How would you define branding?
I would define branding as establishing your purpose for your business and your mission, and overall creating like just the uniform look of how you want to present your business, which is overall presenting yourself, truly. Absolutely. So, I mean, basics of branding, I would say, is just like what your business is going to be about. Just pick a mission statement, pick some colors that you think are appealing and beautiful together, and then talk to a graphic designer and go from there. Honestly, like branding is a lot more of like a theoretical thing these days and not so much of a physical thing. But overall, like a lot of people are curating feeds or something like that, where it's like, you kind of need branding. You can't be all over the place. People like to see something uniform where you can easily guide them through a certain, like when you're looking at a feed or something. Or any profile or YouTube even. Like people want to be guided through to see you, if that makes sense. And so like another thing that like Gary Vee talks about is your personal brand, and having a personal brand when you present yourself, because you're not only building yourself as a business, but you're building like your credibility. So
absolutely.
it kind of goes together. Oops, I just hit the microphone.
It's okay. So you are married, obviously.
Yes.
But you are long distance. So your husband lives in Italy right now, correct?
Yes.
So how do you manage that with your business?
So I've been long distance with my husband ever since we met, and it actually has worked great for us. He is my best friend, and he's like my best teammate in the whole world, and I can't wait until we're in person together, because he's really excited to work on the soap business as well, and he's even made soap with me before. It's so cute. And so whenever he comes to town, I make him go to work, which he hates because he's supposed to be on vacation. But I'm never on vacation, really, even when I go to visit him. So, for example, he lived in North Carolina for a couple years, and I would go visit him because it was hard for him to get leave. And basically, like, I would do as much as I could from my computer. And there's actually like a lot you can do from your computer. Like I can order supplies, I can plan out soaps, I use spreadsheets for everything. I do my books on my computer. Like there's actually a lot. So that's kind of how I balance that. But actually what I do is, because everything has to be made in advance, like for 4 weeks it has to sit on a shelf. So I make, and then I let it sit. I make, and then I let it sit. So, like, basically I'm, like, in a hurry, and then I, like, don't do anything when I go visit him. So, excuse me. In Italy, like, it was a little bit different because I was there for so long. I basically, like, would do that thing, again, where I make things ahead of time. So, I made my spring line in January, when usually I wouldn't have to have it done until, like, maybe end of February, and then launch it in March. So I'd have it done at the end of January. And then I left to go visit him in February, and I was gone for a month. So during that whole time, I can't make anything. So at that time, I usually work on outreach and finding new clients and new private label potential businesses. And I'll reach out to them, do personalized messages. I'll work on marketing, and I'll usually plan the next spring line or summer line or whatever ahead of time. And another thing that I would say is a pro tip if you do long distance is to create a lot of content beforehand. So I filmed myself making all of those soaps that I made in January, and then I still had all that content to continue editing and posting while I was gone. Yeah. So people didn't know that I was in Italy. So people were like, "You're making soap in Italy?" And I'm like, "No, I just did it ahead of time," which is something that you have to be really organized to do. But I had to learn that the hard way whenever I first started long distance with my husband, because I really had to be on it if I wanted to do this as my main source of income.
Thank you guys so much for listening. We hope you learned just as much as we did on this episode of the Palikari Business Podcast.
Yeah, for more information on our guests, make sure to check out the podcast description on whatever platform you're listening on.
Yeah, and if you'd like to connect with us and continue the discussion, you can always join our Palikari Community Discord and follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Just search for us under the handle @Odyssey Productions Co. for new podcast clips in your feed every week.
Until then, we'll see you next time.